The Law and You. A look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You. Presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation building series, The Law and You. This is program number 657, coming to you on Monday the 21st of November 2011. On this program, I continue the topic on children. So this is Children Part 2. And the subheading is the UN Convention on the Rights of Children, which we have shortened. Basically, on this program, I'll be reading through very rapidly the documents about which you have heard quite a lot in the news and in various features in the media, but I will go through the detailed articles for you rapidly. So because we have a lot of material to cover, the preliminary comments would be very, very, very short. Firstly, for preliminaries, I would like to welcome once again the members of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court Court of Appeal to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The sitting started this morning and will continue for the week. The judges are sitting in two panels. 3 sat this morning downstairs and 3 sat upstairs so that they could handle the bulk of the work. Welcome to all of their lordships. Secondly, on a sad note, 2 obituaries which I must make mention of. Firstly, I want to express condolences to the wife, children, mother and siblings and other relatives of Seraph Trumpet, who was one of our clients. Indeed, I have been very close to the Trumpet family since in the 80s. I've been the family lawyer. The sister of Seraph, namely Sigrid, used to work with me in my legal chambers in the 1980s before she migrated. And Mother Trumpet is a very good friend of ours in the chambers. We want to express deepest condolences, particularly in the sad way in which his life was cut short. Condolences also to my good friends Vincent and Albert and the other members of the family of Mother Ryan, who passed away. She lived at Yambo at the age of 101. And remember, we had a lovely service for her in Bayabo when she turned 100. My good brother Vincent and all the rest of the family, deepest condolences. Well, that is all the comments I would make by way of obituaries, because I had promised on this program to go through the laws dealing with children, particularly violence against children. But I thought it better, since I've done that on several previous programs and I've never gone through the UN conventions on the rights of children, and I want to do that on this program. Now, that convention essentially came into force fully in November 1990, and there was an amendment in 2002. Basically, it is one of the few conventions. A convention really is a universal law approved by the vast majority of countries which belong to the United Nations system. And it applies universally throughout the world. Governments have agreed to accept the principles of the convention and to implement them, so that children have special treatment, or ought to have, in all countries. Sadly, we have situations where that is not the case. But these are the standards that the civilized world has decided to adopt and maintain and uphold insofar as children are concerned. And let me go into the Convention on the Rights of the Child right away. Article 1 defines a child as someone under the age of 18. Article 2 deals with non-discrimination, and it applies to all children, whatever their race, religion, abilities, whatever they think or say, whatever type of family they come from. It doesn't matter where children live or the language they speak, what their parents do, whether they are boys or girls, what their culture is, whether they have a disability or not, whether they are rich or poor. No child should be treated unfairly. Article 3 is subheaded the best interests of the child. And it says that the best interests of children must be the primary concern in making decisions that may affect them. And all adults should do what is best for children. Whenever decisions are made by adults, they should be made in the best interest of the child. And many of our laws in St. Vincent and Grenadines have this explicitly set out. Article 4 protects the rights of children. Governments have a responsibility to take available measures to make sure children's rights are respected, protected, and fulfilled. And when countries ratify the convention, they agree to review their laws relating to children and to amend them appropriately. Article 5 deals with parental guidance, and it says that government should respect the rights and responsibilities of families to direct and guide their children so that as they grow, they learn to use these rights properly. Convention does not take away the responsibility from parents and give authority to the governments, but it places on governments the responsibility to protect and assist families in fulfilling their essential roles in the nurturing of children. Article 6 deals with survival and development, and it provides that children have the right to live, and the government should ensure that children survive and develop healthily. Article 7 deals with registration, name, nationality, care. All children have the right to a legally registered name officially recognized by the government. Children have the right to a nationality, that is to belong to a country, and they have the right to know and as far as possible to be cared for by their parents. Article 8 deals with the preservation of identity, and it provides that children have the right to an identity, an official record of who they are, and governments should respect the rights of children to their special identity. Article 9 speaks to the separation from parents. Children have the right to live with their parents unless it is bad for them. So in many countries, domestic laws provide that where parents abuse children excessively, then in many, many countries, the governments have a right to take the children away from the parents and put them in foster homes or in any other institutions where children could be cared for in a proper manner. And it goes on to provide that children whose parents do not live together, as for example after divorce or legal separation, have the right to stay in contact with both parents unless this would be harmful for the child. You know, if a child has had an abusive parents, domestic laws can make provision for those children not to have contact with abusive parents, especially if their children have been sexually molested. Article 10 speaks to family reunification. It provides that families whose members live in different countries should be allowed to move between those countries so that parents and children can stay in contact. Article 19, and for those who have just joined the broadcast, we are dealing with the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, or the Rights of Children. It doesn't matter. The official title is the Rights of the Child, but I said children to be more comprehensive. Article 11 deals with things like kidnapping. And governments are to take steps to stop children from being taken out of their own country illegally. And this article is particularly concerned with parental abductions. You know, parents have a disagreement and one parent tries to snatch the child and to take the child away from the other parent and sometimes out of the country as a whole. And let me tell you, this convention has what are called two optional protocols. That is, two segments which are not binding on governments unless governments choose to adopt them. And one of those optional protocols deals with the trafficking in children, child prostitution, pornography, and so on. Article 12 calls for persons to respect the views of children. Now, in the old-time days, we had a philosophy of children should be seen and not heard. But in modern times, the views of children are to be respected so that they could continue to develop themselves as individual human beings with their own personalities and their own characteristics. Of course, the convention is realistic. It provides that children's participation in decision-making should be based on the level of maturity of children. Article 13 deals with freedom of expression. Children have the right to get and to share information as long as the information is not damaging to them or indeed to others. Article 14 speaks to the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. It provides that children have the right to think and believe what they want and to practice their religion as long as they are not stopping other people from enjoying their rights. So that parents do not have the right to force children, unless they're children of tender age and they can be guided. But children of the age of understanding cannot be forced to belong to the religion that the parents belong to. If the children show their own inclination, particularly young teenagers, and they want to pursue a different religious path from that of their parents, they should not be discriminated against by reason of their own choice of a religion or religious practice or religious faith. Article 15, freedom of association. Children have the right to meet together, to join groups and organizations as long as it doesn't interfere with them in a negative way. And of course, children have a responsibility to respect the rights, freedoms, and reputation of other persons. Article 16, and this is one that many parents may feel uncomfortable with, but the convention provides for the rights of privacy of children. Children do have the right of privacy. So it isn't everything they do that parents should have a right to know. Unless what they're doing is manifestly harmful for them, they have a right to, if they have their own correspondence, they have a right to have privacy where that is concerned. But of course, with modern technology these days, children are enjoying that right of privacy more and more, because unless a parent is thoroughly familiar with the intricacies of things like the BlackBerry, the children can communicate with their peers, have it on their BlackBerry, and only those parents who have technological know-how can go into that BlackBerry and see what is happening there. But even then, if you find a cell phone belonging to your children, you're not supposed to go and search and see what text they were sending or receiving or what calls they were making. No, that is, unless you think, you have good reason to believe that the child has been exposed to some harm, danger, moral degradation, children have the right to their privacy. And you parents who are extra strict better understand that the Universal Declaration, as contained in the Convention of the Rights of the Child, provides that children have the right to privacy. Article 17 deals with the access to information and the mass media. Children have the right to get information that is important to their health and well-being, and governments are to encourage the mass media, that is radio, television, the newspapers, and internet content sources, to provide information that children can understand and not to promote materials that can harm children. Article 18 deals with parental responsibilities. Both parents share responsibility for bringing up their children, and should always consider what is best for each child. You will find that there is some overlapping in some of the articles, inevitably, when you're dealing with a social subject or a subject with a high social content. Some of the articles tend to repeat other articles, though with different emphases. So 18, dealing with parental responsibilities, provides once again that children have the right to be guided by their parents in constructive ways, but not for the parents to be dictators and dictate to the children or be oppressive towards the children or overbearing. Article 19 deals with the protection from all forms of violence. Children have the right to be protected from being hurt and mistreated, from being damaged physically or psychologically. And governments are to ensure that children are properly cared for and protected from violence, abuse, neglect, from parents or anyone else whose duty it is to look after them in terms of discipline. Now, it is important to note that the convention does not specify what forms of punishment parents should use. However, discipline involving violence is not acceptable. And violence, now flogging is not necessarily violence unless it becomes excessive. And any good parent knows the difference. Article 20 that provides that it deals with children deprived of family environment. Children who cannot be looked after by their own family have a right to special care and must be looked after properly by people who respect their ethnicity, their religion, their culture, and their language. Article 21 of the Convention speaks to the issue of adoption. And children have the right to care and protection if they are adopted or in foster care. And again, in making decisions concerning adoption, the principle is that what is in the best interest of the child must be the guiding factor. Article 22 speaks to the issue of refugee children. And children again have the right to special protection. And if they are refugees, they have special rights. That is, if they are forced to leave home with their parents to live in another country, they should be specially protected even if they are children in a refugee situation. Article 23 of the Convention deals with children with disabilities, and it provides that children who have any kind of disability have the right to special care and support. And this is continued in Article 24, health and health services. Children have the right to good quality health care, the best health care possible. They have the right to safe drinking water, nutritious food, a clean and safe environment, and information to help them stay healthy. And the Convention calls on rich countries to assist poor countries in achieving those standards for children. Article 25 provides for the review of treatment while children are in care, and it provides that children who are looked after by local authorities or by other government agencies rather than their parents have the right to have their living arrangements inspected regularly to make sure that they are complying with what is in the best interest of the child. Article 26 deals with social security. It provides that children have the right to help from the government if they are poor or in need, so that a welfare system is something that any government has a duty to try and encourage for those children who are very, very poor or whose circumstances put them in serious need. And this theme is continued in Article 27, which deals with adequate standard of living. Children have the right to a standard of living that is good enough to meet their physical and mental needs. Article 28, the right to education. And this is very important. And of course, in St. Vincent and Grenadines, where we have an ongoing education revolution, this means that the authorities have been putting this part of the convention into place. It says all children have the right to a primary education which should be free. Wealthy countries should help poorer countries achieve this right. Discipline in schools should respect the child's dignity. Schools must be run in an orderly way. Governments have to ensure that school administrators review their disciplinary policies and procedures. And young people should be encouraged to reach the highest level of education of which they are capable. Article 29 continues the theme. It deals with the goals of education. And it provides that children's education should ensure that they develop, that each child's personality is well developed, their talents and abilities should be developed to the fullest. Education should encourage children to respect others and their own cultures and other people's cultures. Now, the convention does not address things like school uniforms, dress codes, singing of anthems and the prayer in school. It is up to governments and school officials in each country to determine whether in the context of their society and existing laws, those matters infringe upon other rights protected by the convention. Article 30 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child deals with children of minorities or children in indigenous groups. Minority or indigenous children have the right to learn about and practice their own culture, language, and religion. The right to practice these things is inherent as a fundamental human right. Article 31, leisure, play, and culture. Children have the right to relax and play, to join in a wide range of cultural, artistic, and other recreational activities. Excuse me. Article 32 addresses the question of child labor. Provides that governments should protect children from work that is dangerous or harmful to their health or their education. Now, it doesn't mean that children should not work, but the work children do should not be such as to prevent them going to school or that would injure them or be particularly harmful to them physically or mentally. Article 33, drug abuse. Now, 33 is a very important one. It provides that government should use all means possible to protect children from the use of harmful drugs and from being used in the drug trade. Article 34, sexual exploitation. Governments should protect children from all forms of sexual exploitation and abuse. And this, of course, is augmented by one of the optional protocols on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography. Now, Article 35, abduction, sale, and trafficking. Government should take all measures possible to make sure that children are not abducted, sold, or trafficked in. And this is augmented by the optional protocol. Article 36 deals with other forms of exploitation of children. Children should be protected from any activity that takes advantage of them or could harm their welfare and development. Article 37 deals with detention and punishment. No one is allowed to punish children in a cruel or harmful way. Children who break the law should not be treated cruelly. They should not be put in prison with adults and should be able to keep in contact with their families and should not be sentenced to death or life imprisonment, or death or life imprisonment without possibility of release. And of course, you cannot, in this country where we have the death penalty, prescribe the death penalty for somebody who was under the age of 18 on the date when the offense was committed. Article 38 speaks to the issue of war and armed conflict. Governments must do everything they can to protect and care for children affected by war. Children under 15 should not be forced or recruited to take part in war or join the armed forces. Well, of course, that doesn't affect, we have no armed forces in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Article 39, rehabilitation of child victims. Children who have been neglected, abused, or exploited should receive special help to physically and psychologically recover and to reintegrate themselves into society. Article 40, juvenile justice. Children who are accused of breaking the law have the right to legal help and fair treatment in the justice system. Article 41, respect for superior national standards. If the laws of a country provide better protection of children's rights than the articles of the convention, those laws should apply. So where in countries the laws give better protection to children, then those laws should not be lowered to meet the convention. They should be upheld. Article 41, 42, knowledge of rights. Government should make the convention known to adults and children, and that is what I'm helping to do, to make the convention known. And the other articles, the time is running out, the other articles, 43 to 54, deals with implementation measures. Those articles make provision as to how governments and international organizations and even national organizations could help to ensure that the rights of children are protected. So that if you're really interested in the subject, you can go on the internet, Google this, just type in the International Convention on the Rights of Children, and there you'll be able to read the whole text. Some of the languages is a bit ponderous as legal languages, though it's not as difficult to read as many other legal documents. So there it is. We have in St. Vincent and Grenadines, we have accepted the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and we have enacted in our own domestic laws many of the provisions of the rights of the child, and in practice we try to follow them through. Yesterday, of course, was observed as Universal Children's Day, and once again I commend to one and all the salient point that we should love our children, we should cherish and respect them and do the very best we can for them. Bring them up in a loving environment where they have the discipline to do that which is right and good and wholesome. Special good evening to all children listening to this broadcast. So that is all from this program of The Law and You. I look forward to being a further service to you next week, Monday TV, for another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. Do have a very pleasant week, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and especially boys and girls, and may the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer P.R Campbell QC, and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public